Today we're going to learn how to weave two different pieces of paper together, and we're going to create our own pattern. We've practiced using AB pattern weaving, which is over, under, and then we switch it to under, over, under, over. To get started, you need to decide which one of your papers is going to be your background paper. I'm going to start with this blue one. So to get started, I need to flip it over because we want our lines to be on the back so they are not visible on our finished product. If you are uncomfortable drawing long lines, you can fold your paper in half and do it this way. I'm going to show you without folding it in half so you can have a better visualization of what it's going to look like. The first step is to measure from each side 1/2 inch in, so you have your do not cut past here lines. We're going to do that in two places so we can line them up. Then, on both the top and the bottom, you're going to turn your ruler sideways and draw your straight line, and that is going to be your guide of where you're going to stop cutting once we cut our strips. Great. Now, we need to measure 1/2 inch all the way down, and we're going to make our vertical lines. Move it up. Do the same thing, 1/2 inch all the way down. Excellent. Now, you need to do the same thing we did with our do not cut here line, and we are going to draw a line that connects all of these. If you need to make something a mark to show you that this is your do not cut here line, I recommend putting a little X on that line so you know that that is where you're going to stop. Now we're just going to connect all of our dots all the way down. Try to line it up as best as you can. This is going to be the first step in making our grid so we can make our own patterns. Okay, now that you have these lines, you are going to turn your paper so it's vertical. We're going to do the same process so we can make grid squares all the way on our paper. My paper is a little more thin than 9 inches, so I'm going to wiggle a little bit so my edges are a little bit thinner than the rest. So I'm going to measure every 1/2 inch. And I'm going to leave my ruler on the page, bring it down so it's about the same. Measure every 1/2 inch again. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to connect all of our lines. So we're going to connect it from our do not cut line to our do not cut line. Going to line up our rulers. Okay, now you are ready to start designing your own pattern. I think it's easiest to put X's in the boxes that you want that when you're weaving, your strip will go over. So, whatever way you come up to make your pattern, that's how you're going to do it. So remember, our patterns can either go vertically or horizontally. That is up to you. I am going to start by just doing one row and going all the way down with my pattern. So I want it to go over 2, under 3, over 2, under 3, over 2, under 3, over 2, and then I'll have one extra one right here at the bottom because that's how big my paper is. So then the next one, I'm going to skip it by 1, and I'm going to have this one go under, then over 2, under 3, over 2, under 3, over 2, under 3, over 2, and I'm going to do this all the way down. Okay, now you can see that I have my pattern finished and I am ready to start my weaving. So before I can start weaving, I need to do two things. First, I need to fold my paper in half. Try to make sure your corners line up so that way your lines will be straight. With a pair of scissors, I'm going to cut straight up to my do not cut past here line. It's going to make it so that my pattern is still visible because I'm going to stay on my lines, but I will be able to weave in and out. Okay, once you're done with that, you can open it and you officially have your loom. Don't be concerned if your lines get a little bit messed up on the back. Your X's should still be in the same squares, and that's okay, just because my lines were not perfectly straight once I folded it. Okay, the next thing we need to do is make the strips that are going to be woven into our loom for our pattern. So with your second paper, we are going to fold our paper in half the long way. So you have a shorter strip this time. And since we're just using this to make strips, we only have to measure 2 times. So with this, we're going to line up our ruler like always. We're going to make 1/2 inch marks all the way down. Do the same thing that we did on the other paper. We're going to pull our ruler down so we can make a second set of marks. And once you're finished, again, we are going to make our lines. So these will become our strips that we are going to weave. I would recommend that as you're cutting these, you're only cutting one at a time. I'm going to demonstrate so you don't have a whole pile that you need to deal with as you're weaving if you have to take a break and come back to it. It's much easier to just do a couple at a time. So the first thing we're going to do is just cut off our first strip. We're going to put the rest of our paper to the side because we don't need it for a second. We're going to open it up. So our strip should be the same size as the paper we started with. We are going to go over where there are X's and under where it is clear. So I'm going to go over 2, under 3, over 2, under 3, over 2, under 3, over 2, under 1. Whoops. Once I'm there, I'm going to push my paper all the way to the top so it is in the correct position. I got a little bit. Make sure you're trying to line it up with the edges of your paper the best you can. Okay, now I'm ready to cut my second strip. And you're just going to keep doing this back and forth of cutting your strips, opening them up, and then following your pattern. So I'm over or under 1, over 2, under 3, over 2, under 3, over 2, under 3, over 2. And then push it to the top so it matches your pattern. You're going to continue this all of the way down your paper. As you continue to go, you might find that it is easier to do this is as you go if you tape down the pieces that you have already finished. I'll show you what that looks like in just 1 second once I finish this row. Okay, so if that is working for you, then keep going in that same way. But as you go and you want to check it, it might be helpful if you tape down some of the pieces you have put into place so they don't fall out. Make sure they're really squished together. Then you can flip it and see how your pattern weaving is turning out. So you're going to continue this all the way down your paper with your interesting papers, and at the end you'll have a finished weaving product. I can't wait to see how yours turn out today, and make sure you upload it to Canvas when you are finished. Have an excellent